There is a law of nature that civilization tries to make us forget. It is the law of the ember. If you extinguish a fire, but leave a single ember burning, no matter how dimly it smolders, eventually the wind will blow. The fire will return, and this time it will be uncontrollable. In the game of power, your enemy is the fire. Your enemy is the viper. We are raised on the myth of sportsmanship. We are taught that mercy is a virtue. We are taught to forgive. We are taught to meet our opponents halfway. But Robert Greene, the modern Machiavelli, warns us that in high-stakes conflict, mercy is not a virtue. It is a fatal error. Law 15. Crush your enemy totally. More is lost through stopping halfway than through total annihilation. The enemy will recover and will seek revenge. Crush him not only in body, but in spirit. History is littered with the graves of great men who stopped halfway, men who showed mercy to a weakened enemy, only to be destroyed by that same enemy years later. A defeated enemy is not a friend. A defeated enemy is a ticking time bomb of shame and rage. In this video, we will explore the cost of hesitation. We will analyze the mistake that destroyed Napoleon Bonaparte. We will look at the total erasure of Carthage. And we will show you how to apply this ruthless logic to modern business and legal disputes to ensure that when you win forever. Welcome to Umbra Decode. Leave nothing alive. Let us look at the most famous mistake in military history. In 1814, a coalition of European powers finally defeated Napoleon Bonaparte. They had him cornered, they had him beaten. But the Allied leaders were gentlemen. They respected Napoleon's genius. They didn't want to execute him. They thought it was barbaric. So they chose a half measure. They exiled him to the island of Elba. They allowed him to keep his title of emperor. They allowed him a small army of 1,000 men. They allowed him to hold court. They thought they were being merciful. They thought they had contained the fire. They had simply banked the ember. On Elba, Napoleon didn't retire. He plotted. He studied the political situation in France. He waited for the wind to blow. Less than a year later, he escaped. He landed in France with a handful of men. The French army sent to arrest him bowed down and joined him instead. The result was the 100 Days Campaign. Europe was plunged back into war. The Battle of Waterloo followed. Tens of thousands of men died. All because the Allies were too polite to finish the job the first time. After Waterloo, they did not make the same mistake. They exiled him to St. Helena, a barren rock in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, 5,000 miles from nowhere. No title, no army, no hope. They finally crushed him totally, but the price of their first mercy was an ocean of blood. A century later, the mistake was repeated in China. In 1934, Chiang Kai-shek, the leader of the nationalists, had the communist army surrounded. The communists were weak, starving, and outnumbered. They were trapped in the mountains. Chiang had the power to launch a final assault and wipe them out completely. But he hesitated. He wanted to use them as pawns to negotiate with local warlords. He left a gap in the encirclement. Through that gap, a minor leader named Mao Zedong escaped. He led his survivors on the Long March. Of the 80,000 men who started, only 8,000 survived. Chiang thought they were finished. He thought they were irrelevant. He was wrong. Pain does not always destroy. Sometimes it purifies. Those 8,000 survivors hardened into the most disciplined fighting force on Earth. They bonded through trauma. They fueled themselves with hatred for the man who almost killed them. 15 years later, Mao returned. He swept across China. He defeated Chiang Kai-shek and forced him into exile. Chang lost an entire country because he showed mercy to a dying enemy. This is the danger of the anti-fragile enemy. If you injure a man but do not destroy him, you strip him of his fear, you strip him of his comfort, you leave him with nothing but a thirst for vengeance. Why is a pardoned enemy more dangerous than a stranger? Why can't they just be grateful that you spared them? This is a misunderstanding of human nature. When you defeat someone, you inflict a narcissistic injury. You have proven that you are superior to them. You have destroyed their status. If you show them mercy, you are compounding the insult. Mercy is a display of power. By sparing them, you are looking down on them. You are saying, I have the power of life and death over you, and I choose life. They do not feel gratitude, they feel shame. And shame is the most violent emotion in the human spectrum. They feel a psychological debt that cannot be paid with money. It can only be paid with your blood. They cannot move on with their lives until they have reestablished their superiority. While you are celebrating your victory and moving on, they are stewing. They are plotting. Green writes, if you leave them even a flicker of hope, they will find a way to ignite it. You must remove the source of the shame. You must remove the enemy. The Romans understood this law better than anyone. Rome fought 2 wars against their rival, Carthage. They won both. They imposed fines. They took territory. They signed treaties. But Carthage recovered. They were a wealthy trading nation. Within a generation, they rebuilt their wealth. They raised a new army under Hannibal and almost destroyed Rome. The Roman senator Cato the Elder realized a terrifying truth. As long as Carthage existed, Rome was not safe. The potential for war was eternal. So, Rome launched the Third Punic War. This time, the goal was not victory. The goal was erasure. They didn't just defeat the army, they breached the walls, they went house to house, they enslaved the population, they burned the city to the ground. And then, legend says, they sowed the fields with salt so that nothing would ever grow there again. This was brutal. It was genocide. But it was effective. Rome never fought Carthage again. The threat was gone forever. Rome enjoyed centuries of peace in the Mediterranean because they did not stop halfway. In your own conflicts, you must ask, are you fighting a war of conquest or a war of survival? If it is a war of survival, you cannot sign a treaty. You must sow the salt. How does this apply to 2025? You cannot burn down your competitor's city, but you can crush them legally, financially, and professionally. The scorched earth legal strategy. If you are in a lawsuit, do not settle for a draw if you have the leverage. If you settle, they will wait, recover funds, and sue you again in 5 years. You must strip them of the resources to fight. You must drain their war chest until they are forced to sign an unconditional surrender. The corporate execution. If you fire a toxic employee or a traitor, you cannot be nice. You cannot let them hang around for 2 weeks to wrap things up. You cannot let them keep their client list. You must cut the cord completely. Revoke email access during the meeting. Escort them out of the building. Enforce the non-compete. It feels harsh. You want to be a good person. But if you are nice, they will steal your data. They will poison the morale of your team. They will launch a competitor using your IP. Mercy to the wolf is cruelty to the sheep. Finally, understand that the ultimate victory is not physical, it is psychological. Law 15 says, crush him, not only in body, but in spirit. You must destroy their will. If you beat an opponent by luck, they will want a rematch. If you beat an opponent by a small margin, they will think, next time I can win. You must win so decisively, so overwhelmingly, that they realize resistance is futile. You want to traumatize them with your competence. You want them to look at you and think, he is a force of nature. I can never beat him. Only when they have lost the hope of victory are they truly crushed. And once they are crushed, ignore them. Do not gloat. Do not taunt. That shows they still matter to you. Treat them as if they no longer exist. Indifference is the final scoop of dirt on the grave. This law is dark. It is uncomfortable. But remember, peace is often bought with the currency of violence. By crushing the enemy totally, you secure a lasting peace for yourself and your people. You ensure that you never have to look over your shoulder. You never have to fight the same battle twice. To master the art of finality, subscribe to Umbra Decode. Dig 2 graves? No. Dig 1 and make it deep.